Can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we just set it up to mute everybody, and then I went in through and unmuted key personnel.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Age Appropriate and Developmentally Appropriate Work Group meeting. We appreciate your commitment and your dedication to this work. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I have a few housekeeping requests to get us started. We do have members of the public on this call. Unless you are a work group member, please keep yourself on mute until the end of our meeting. At that time, there will be an opportunity for the public to provide any comments. A quick review for our next hour together. Because our work group is small today, if you are a work group member, please feel free to ask questions as we go through today's meeting. So we're going to begin, obviously, now with our welcome, and then have a time for introductions, and then dig right into our purpose for our meeting today. So since this is our first meeting and our first chance to get to know one another, we'll start with some introductions. My name is PJ Duncan. I'm the Director of STEM at the Florida Department of Education within the Bureau of Standards and Instructional Support. I would like to ask each of our work group members today to unmute yourself and state your title and your district and any other information that you'd like to share. If we can begin with Leah Torres.
Hi, my name is Leah Torres. I am a Director of Research Evaluation and Accountability in Osceola County.
Thank you, Leah. Let's move on to Glenda Sheffield.
Good afternoon. I'm Glenda Sheffield. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for the School District of Palm Beach County.
Thank you for being here today, Glenda. Let's move on to Chris Combas.
Good afternoon. Chris Combas, Director of Teaching and Learning for Hamilton County.
Thank you, Chris. And finally, Kelly Brower.
Hi, I'm Kelly Brower. I'm with Marion County, and I'm a Program Specialist in Transformation.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Let's continue on. So let's talk about our purpose for being here. Why are we here today together? There are two main purposes that have been identified for this work group. The first being defining age appropriate, and secondly, defining developmentally appropriate. In the context of Florida Statute 1001.428C, these definitions will provide consistency within all of the Florida school districts to meet the statutory requirement and for communication with parents and all other external stakeholders. So as you know, House Bill 1557 was passed in this last legislative session in 2022, and it has been, it has amended Section 1001.428C of the Florida statutes to read classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. Once again, we are developing these proposed definitions for consistency within all of the Florida school districts and for communication with parents and other stakeholders. As we work together, remember that your input helps to inform our work in Florida. What does success look like? These criteria that I've provided here will allow us to stay focused as we work together. So criteria 1, provide a clear proposed definition for Florida school districts, parents, and other stakeholders to ensure the application of Section 100.428C of the Florida statutes with fidelity. And secondly, reflect upon the feedback from stakeholders to ensure that the interests of Florida's diverse student population and public school districts are accounted for. So you might be interested in what our way of work is going to be. So let's start with our timeline. The established deadline to have these definitions finalized is December 5th of this year. That means we need to have a final draft of the proposed definitions by this work group by November 5th in order to route those definitions through leadership for approval. So this task, as you can see, we have 30 days. This task may require some individual work between our weekly meetings. So jumping right into that individual work, between now and our next meeting, we should all read and understand both House Bill 1557 and Florida Statute 1001.42 in its entirety. Reading both of these documents will provide a clear starting point for our discussion at the next meeting on October 12th. In addition, if helpful, please conduct any research that can inform our discussion as well. As you know, these meetings have been publicly noticed. So we have today's meeting. For next week, we're meeting on the 12th, and the following week on the 18th. If we need further meetings, we will notice those after the October 18th meeting, pardon me. And again, on our timeline, we're gonna look to have a final draft composed for leadership by November 5th, 1 month from today. So at this time, I would like for our work group members to feel free to unmute, and this is time just to provide any initial thoughts, ask any questions, or make any general comments as we start to plan for our next steps together in this work.
Ms. Duncan, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, Mr. Compass.
I just want to say thanks. It sounds like you kind of have a mixture of districts, small and large. I think our main concern is just we're considering of this new statute. So looking forward to working with the group.
Thank you so much, sir. Glad to have you here representing one of our small and rural districts. I've been practicing my wait time, so I just want to make sure that everybody has had a chance to offer any thoughts or questions before we open up for public comment.
Ms. Duncan, Glenda, again, Glenda Sheffield with Palm Beach. So again, I do appreciate the opportunity. So for the work group, until our next meeting, it's just for us to do the research and come back with thoughts that we may have as it pertains to both of the areas. Bring it back. There's no outside work amongst the other 4 participants representing the districts. Everything is done within the work group.
We're going to take this time, correct, Dr. Sheffield. We're going to take this time between now and the next meeting to do our individual reading and research. When we come together next week, we will work together to propose a first draft. So certainly if you guys want to start thinking about what that language might look like, that would be a great that would be a great thing to keep in mind as you're doing your individual research. And then we can put together that first draft together next week.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, I think we've had time to sort of get our thoughts together here as a work group. So now at this time, we are going to open up the chat, and also we are going to open up the ability for our public guests today to make comment. You can, my assistant will be able to, if you'll raise your hand, will be able to unmute you and turn your camera on for you so that you'll be able to use that if you would like. If you're not familiar, you can go to the top icons and click on to raise your hand. And if you would prefer to put your comment in the chat, you can certainly do that as well. My assistant will help me with any thing that goes into the chat that needs to be addressed. If you're having any problem with raising your hand, just please put it in the chat and he will be certain to help you. I believe we do have someone that would like to share.
Anita Carson.
Anita Carson.
Ms. She is.
Ms. Carson, I think we have unmuted you. Do you want to try and see if it will allow you to share? Make sure that you've also on your side clicked the microphone button to unmute you. On our side, it appears you are unmuted from the system. Ms. Carson, we tried to go ahead and disable and then re-enable your camera and microphone if you want to try again. You might check your audio settings on your end as well. If all else fails, you can put your comment into the chat. We tried again. Ms. Carson, if you want to try.
In the chat then.
Okay. Where there's a will, there's a way. We're in the chat. Can you please elaborate on how this group plans to define these terms? Will there be any experts on this topic brought in? Thank you for the question. At this time, our assignment for the coming week is to get established as a work group to understand what our task is. Please understand the work group did not fully understand the task until this meeting. So we will, between now and next week, be doing this independent research. And at that time, when we come back together again next week, we will address, I don't have enough information today to answer that question, but we will be, that is certainly something we will be discussing at next week's meeting after all of our work group members have become acclimated. Okay, I've got another. Oh, okay, Ms. Carson. I'm sorry about the audio difficulties, but I'm happy to read your comment. What reading materials and research are the committee members going through to prepare for next week? So for this week, because they have just learned today what their task is, they're only going to be tasked with reading House Bill 1557 in its entirety and Statute 1001.42 in its entirety, and any independent research that they deem useful. When we come back again next week, we will have further tasks to share with them, but this first week is basically going to allow them to get their bearings around the task at hand and understand what statute or what guidance is given in statute. Will those independent resources, again, I'm sorry, Ms. Carson has a follow-up question. Will those independent resources be privy to the public? Yes, ma'am. All of this process will be available, all of the information and the resources used will be available for the public. We have another question from Ren. Will classroom instruction be defined as it relates to House Bill 1557? At this time, we have a very specific task to define age appropriate and developmentally appropriate. We have not been assigned at this time to define classroom instruction. Again, if you would like to unmute and try that, please feel free. But if you want to put in comments in the chat, we can just work through them this way. If I have skipped any comments, please don't allow me to do that. Tell me to go back in the chats. I want to make sure I'm providing plenty of wait time in case someone's typing or thinking about another question. Another question. Do you have an idea on what materials age and developmentally appropriate will be in reference to if classroom instruction is not defined? I'm going to say that I don't think we're far along enough in our discussions yet to be able to answer that question, but I am going to make sure that I have fully noted that so that we can speak to that. That can help to drive our discussions next week on the 12th. Again, today is just the very beginning for this work. And so these questions are very helpful to the work group, things that we need to consider as we prepare for next week. Please know that the work group members can also see the chat. Ms. Carson, I believe you have another comment. For example, age appropriate with guidance from an educator could be vastly different from age appropriate in independent study. Yes, ma'am, and that is duly noted and certainly will be a part of our thought process as we move forward with this task. You're welcome. Thank you, Ren. We do have a hand up. Are you able now to unmute yourself, Ms. Cousins?
Hi, I'm just wondering if people do go about using independent research, where are you going to provide links to what they've read and make it publicly available and easy to find?
Absolutely. Everything that we do in the work group in terms of research will be publicly available and available. We will have to determine the best way to make sure that we can make the links publicly available, but I can tell you that they will be. And by next week on the 12th, I will take these questions to leadership and others and decide what format to do that. But I do know that all information is publicly available. It's a great question that I had not thought about before the call today. So that's the great thing about having public comment. It gives you things to think about and work on. So by next week, I'll have a more solid answer for you about the delivery of that information. Okay, we have another question from Ms. Carson. The committee has been asked to do independent research. I think the question is, are there resources and who they speak to going to be public? Certainly we're going to, yes, we are going to ask for the resources. Any information that is used in this work group will be available to the public. So yes, they will, this has been their initial exposure to the task. We will have to come up with some definite ways to collect that information, but all of that information will be available to the public. Yes, we have another question. Are the people here today the only members of the work group? Yes, they are. At this time, we have 4 members for this work group. And you're welcome, Ms. Carson. And you're welcome, Kathy. We do have this meeting open until 4 o'clock, so we can continue to take public comment. If I would ask that the work group members please stay so that we can all hear the public comment together. If members of the public are, it's hard to tell when we're going to stop having questions, but if we will certainly be here until 4 o'clock. If we still, we have some questions or comments come in. Okay, so we have another question from Ren. Do you mind telling us about how the members of this work group were selected? These work group members were selected to represent a variety of our districts in Florida in size and geographical location, to try to, going back to our success criteria about our very diverse student population and our very large state. Ren has as a follow-up, is there a reason why there is 4 as opposed to more? No reason. We did have an additional member that had to, due to the impacts of the hurricane, had to decline to be a part of the committee at this time, or the work group at this time. But there was no set reason for the 4 members. Okay, Ms. Carson, yes, we actually did that at the beginning, but we can do that again. Because certainly can the committee members' names, counties, and job titles be shared out? Yes, we can do that. Let's begin with Christopher Combas. Do you mind unmuting and sharing your name, county, and job title? We'll come back to Chris because it looks like he might be having audio difficulty. Leah Torres, would you mind going for us?
Sure. My name is Leah Torres, and I am the Director of Research and Evaluation and Accountability in Osceola School District.
Thank you, Leah. Dr. Sheffield?
Yes, again, I'm Dr. Glenda Sheffield. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for the School District of Palm Beach County.
Thank you. Kelly Brower?
Hi, again, my name is Kelly Brower. I'm with Marion County Public Schools and currently a program specialist for transformation.
Thank you, Kelly. Let's see if Chris Combas, are you able to unmute? He was having audio troubles earlier when he was speaking. Oh, there's Chris, I think.
Okay. Hey, sorry, I'm traveling back from a training today.
That's
so
fine.
Chris Combas, I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning for the Hamilton County School District.
Thank you. Director of Teaching and Learning for Hamilton County. And thank you, Chris, for joining us, even if you're having to travel from one meeting to another. We'll go back to the chat. Ms. Carson has shared a question. Is there a reason no classroom instructors were included? No, no reason for that. All 4 of these individuals are previous classroom instructors, but no, there was no reason. Okay, I think we have, it seems that we have fielded all public comment and questions. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my contact information. Our next meeting will be next Wednesday, October 12th, at the same time, 3 p.m. We will be discussing House Bill 1557 and Statute 1001.42 as they pertain to our task. In addition, we will develop a first draft for both definitions, as well as capture any research information that has been utilized by the work group. Meanwhile, if you need to get a hold of me, please use the contact information on the slide. I thank you all for attending today's meeting, and I look forward to seeing you all next week on the 12th. At this time, we're going to go ahead and end the meeting.